Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that shapes pretty much everything around us, even when we don't see it: administrative law. You can think of it as the invisible rulebook that keeps government power in check. All right, let's get right into it.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll look at how this power actually shows up in your day-to-day life. Then, how it's controlled. We'll get into the law's core principles, see how it protects you as a citizen, and finish up with the constant balancing act that's at the very heart of it all.
Okay, so to really get what this is all about, we're not going to start with a bunch of dry legal jargon. No, let's start with the real-world power that public bodies have over all of us.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Every single day, decisions are being made that have huge consequences. Will a new motorway get built? Will a small business get the license it needs to open its doors? Who gets that big chunk of lottery funding? These are all administrative decisions, and their impact is massive.
Well, that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? With all that power, what's to stop some government agency from making a bad call, being unfair, or just getting it completely wrong?
The answer, you guessed it, is administrative law. It's this whole area of rules and principles that acts like a braking system, making sure those powerful engines of government stay on the rails and operate safely.
You know, the way we think about this law has really changed over time. The old school view, from scholars like Ivor Jennings and Casey Davis, saw it as just the law about bureaucracy, the internal rules for government agencies. But the modern view, which is way more powerful, sees it as being about controlling government power itself in all its forms.
And this is the definition from Wade and Forsyth that really nails it. Administrative law is the law relating to the control of governmental power. It's so simple, but it's huge. It shifts the focus from just procedure to the central mission: controlling power.
So here's the bottom line. This law is here to make sure the government plays by its own rules and to protect us, the citizens, from the abuse of power. And abuse here doesn't have to mean someone is being malicious. It could just be a public body acting with the best intentions that simply misunderstood what it's legally allowed to do.
So if this whole thing is about controlling power, what does this law actually look like? What's its basic nature?
A really great way to get it is to compare it to constitutional law. Think of constitutional law as the architect's blueprint for the country. It lays out the big structures, like Parliament and the courts. Administrative law is the operational rulebook. It's about how that blueprint is actually used every day and how those big structures interact with people.
This makes it a key branch of what we call public law. That's the area of law that manages the relationship between you, the individual, and the state. At its heart, it's all about the powers and responsibilities of public bodies.
Now, what's really interesting is there's no single giant administrative law book you can just go and read. It's what we call a hybrid. It's partly made up of laws passed by Parliament, for sure, but a huge chunk of it has been developed by judges, case by case, over hundreds of years. That means it's always evolving to deal with new situations.
Okay, now for the part you've probably been waiting for. How does this law actually work for you? What are the tools it gives us to protect ourselves from bad decisions?
Right at the core of all this are the principles of natural justice. These aren't rules from some specific law. They're ancient, deep-seated ideas about fairness that courts have recognized forever. They are the absolute bedrock of any fair process.
Natural justice really comes down to two main ideas. First, the right to a fair hearing. That means you get to know what's being said against you, and you get a fair shot to tell your side of the story. Second is the rule against bias. The person making the call has to be neutral, and, crucially, they also have to look neutral to any reasonable person.
Yeah, that appearance of fairness is a huge deal. It's not enough for justice to be done, it has to be seen to be done. As one famous judge put it, the goal is to avoid even the appearance of being influenced. Just a hint of bias can be enough to get a decision thrown out, because public trust is everything.
So, let's say you think a public body broke these rules. What do? Well, the main tool you have is called judicial review. This is the legal process where you can go to a high court and ask a judge to review whether a decision was made lawfully.
Now, when a court does a judicial review, it's not there to remake the decision itself. It's acting more like a referee. The judge asks three key questions. 1, was the decision lawful? Did the authority act within its powers, or intra vires? 2, was it procedurally fair? Did they follow the rules of natural justice? And 3,
Was it reasonable? Was it a decision that a rational authority could have actually made?
And there's another principle that's becoming more and more important: the duty to give reasons. Courts increasingly expect public bodies to explain why they made a decision. This does two things. It pushes them to think carefully, and it gives you a fair chance to challenge a decision if you think it's wrong.
Okay, let's zoom out one last time. Why does all of this matter so much? What's the big picture here? In the end, you can think of administrative law as the citizen's shield. It's the legal framework that demands fairness and good sense from the government, and it gives every single one of us a way to stand up and challenge the state when it messes up or oversteps.
And what this creates is this constant, but absolutely necessary tension. On one side, you've got the government, which needs to run the country and get things done. On the other side, you've got the individual's basic right to be treated fairly. Administrative law lives right in the middle of that tension, always trying to find the right balance.
And that leaves us with the big, timeless question that this whole area of law wrestles with every day. Where exactly do you draw the line between an efficient government and a fair process for the individual? There's no single easy answer, and that debate is what continues to shape our laws and our society. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.